did quite an extended teaching on the book of Revelations, and I said the book of Revelations is not about a character that lived 2,000 years ago. It was not about Jesus, or it was not about the churches, or it was not about something that happened, but it was about the individual person. It tells you that in the first two verses of Revelation chapter 1. Revelation chapter 1, verse 1 and verse 2. It tells you who that revelation is, apocalypsis, which actually means the uncovering or the unveiling. And it would be like if I were to uncover you, if I were to pull the skin back and look inside you, this is basically what I would see. And these are called the 7 endocrine glands, or they're called the 7 chakras. That's an Eastern terminology, which means points of energy. Cross points where energy collide. And so I did that teaching, like I said, 20, 25 years ago at least. And so the stick man was born, and so it's you. Now this is a whole stick man, and basically I've spent most of my teaching on this particular part, using the 7 churches and the 7 days of creation. So the 7 days of creation in Genesis 1 and 2 are actually from the Hebrew word yom, and the Hebrew word yom, which means facets of life, or it means extended life, or it means happy or blessed life, but it doesn't mean a day. What? That's the word that's being used, is the word day. So when you look at Genesis 1 and 2, you think of a creation story that happened 6,000 or 7,000 years ago. And that's not at all what it's about. But that's what we've been told that it's about. And the reason for that is they took the Bible and they turned it into a history book, which it was never written to be a history book. It was always written to be an allegorical, mythological, typology book about the temple, tabernacle, house, building that God builds to live in, which is you. So that's difficult. Now what I just said is cross-grained against most every religion that there is. But if we do not open our mind and start to think out of the box that our mind is programmed to think in, and we want different results in our life if we move forward, we are being fooled by ourselves. You can't get different results thinking the same thing you thought that got you where you are right now. We have to open our mind and think differently. And so when we come down here, and I want to talk about this, just a bunch of things if I can keep my mind from going off on too many rabbit trails. I want to talk about the church, what it is. I want to talk about what God said and what that is, if time will permit me, and if I can stay on track. But I want you to think about this is you as you are designed to function. That's the design. This is how you're designed to function. You're designed to function in peace. You're designed to function in wholeness. You're designed to function in happiness. You're designed to function in freedom. But this is how most of us function. Most of us are divided by a heart. Matthew 14, Jesus says, a divided heart can't receive. What is it it can't receive? It can't receive the blessing of peace, of wholeness, of happiness. Why? Because it's in constant struggle and war. If I were to segregate every one of us here today, and I begin to talk to you about the elements of your heart, every one of us are in struggle and in war right here. Because we haven't been taught how to get over here. So what, over here to the whole heart. We stay over here in the divided heart. And we have these issues. And so, I have some things I wrote that I want to read to you in just a bit. Again, if I don't get off track, remind me to read you this. I wrote this 2.5 months ago. And so I want to read this because it deals with every one of us in our position in life, where we are right now today. Our problem most of the time is we're trying to live life out of yesterday. We're trying to redeem ourselves out of yesterday. But yesterday's dead and gone. But we're dragging it with us like it was alive. We drag it with us just like it's really something that's going to serve me. It was what it was. We need to leave it where it was. That's hard. You know why? Because I have attachments to it. And I have attached myself to it just exactly like a leech attaches itself to something and sucks the life out of it. And that's exactly how we are. We stay stuck in things that are past rather than living in things that are present. If we live in the present, we have control of the future. If we live in the past, the future will catch up with us and pass us on by, and we'll not even know what happened. But here we are. And so if we live in the past, we will stay in the past, and we will take the future and let it pass us by because we don't even understand what's happening in our life. And every one of us is that. We get stuck in all things that happen to you. And I'm going to say this to you because this book is the most unveiling book that there is to understand these mysteries that constantly unfold every day in life. If we see it right, if we make it a history book about characters, about a God that did something back then there again it'll pass us on by because we're looking into a future of something that could happen, or looking outside of ourselves to somebody out yonder that did something we think we can't do. We will never be what we are designed to be. And that is, you're designed to be all-powerful. You're designed to be the captain of your house, of your ship. You're designed to run the rudder of your ship in waters that are smooth, that serve you, not in the turbulent waters that most of us are stuck in by a divided heart. And so how in the world do we take this divided heart and unite that heart? There's only basic one way to do it, and it's through knowledge. It's through knowing who I am. It's not through faith. It's not through believing. It's not through trusting. It's in knowing. It's knowledge. Jesus said this in John chapter 8. He said, the knowledge of the truth. When I know the truth, not believe it, not trust it, not hope in it, not think it, but when I know the truth, that comes from the Greek word gnosko, which actually is an intuitive thing that happens right here in your heart. In Hebrew, the Kabbalah Hebrew word for this word knowledge is de'at. And de'at means a window or a door into the unseen, into the unknown realm where God is, that you pull that knowledge through. It's where you open your heart and you receive things outside this limited two-dimensional world that these two eyeballs, these two ears, and this one mouth has created for me, this world of chaos. This world is designed to be chaotic, so it just is. But you're going to live in it, then you might as well become the master of your ship, because Jesus said this, Matthew chapter 7 and 8, that the storms of life are going to come, period. So it doesn't matter if you have your house on rock or on sand, the storms they're going to come. You can't stop spring from coming. It's coming, and when spring comes, the contrast in hot and cold is going to create tornadoes and hurricanes and storms. That's exactly how our life is. Our life is designed to live in the middle of a storm and weather it and stand on it. But it has to be built on the solid rock. What is the solid rock? The solid rock is the knowledge of truth, not trust in truth. We all come through it. I taught this hook, line, and sinker myself right here in this facility 30 plus years ago. Faith, faith, faith. But faith is basically defined as something that's blind and unseen and not known. And if we follow the blind that lead us in this blind faith, then the blind that lead us in blind faith will take us into the ditch where they always go. That's what Jesus said. Blind leads the blind, they all fall in the ditch. That's where we at. So we have to acknowledge where we are. You know, you cannot get where you want to go until you first acknowledge where you're at. If you are in denial of where you are, and we are, aren't we? I'm not just talking to him, I'm talking to us. I'm talking to me. If I'm in denial of where I am, I can't get where I want to go. I've got to face where I'm at. I got to be honest with where I am. I got to be real with where I am. And then I can move forward into where I'd like to go. You know, one of the things that I would love to tear down is this whole concept and this ideology that we call church. You know, and that's basically, we kind of dabbled with the name of this place quite a number of years ago, but I didn't want to go through the problem of incorporating the name change with the state because I already had Cornerstone Family Church incorporated with the state. But we call this Clear River Teaching Center. And why did we want to call it Clear River Teaching Center? Because we took the words out of the book of Revelation, the 20th chapter, about a river that flows clearly. And that river that flows clearly is a river of knowledge, of truth, that sets the captive free. So this is a school. This is a place of teaching. This is a place that we come and learn. This is not where we come to play church. Because that's what people have done too many years. It don't work and it don't get you to anywhere. You can't go from here to there. Why? You're still taking up yesterday's problems and confessing it today and taking it into tomorrow. And that kind of a mind will never change the circumstance and the situations that you're in today. So this is a teaching center. This is a place where we come to learn. We don't ask anybody to come in here and come to an altar and get saved. That is a joke. That is not real. That is not true. But we are all trained and taught in it. And I can hear in the back of my mind the Christians or the preachers or the ones who listen to these YouTubes on wherever they go, because they go all over. They just go everywhere. It's amazing to me where they go. They have a life of their own. I'm not trying to be offensive to our ideologies where we've had these experiences in church and we call these getting saved experiences. They are what they are, but I am trying to say that we have something that's stronger and greater than that, and that's the knowledge of the truth. And that's where we have to come to. We've got to get to that place. Knowing what being saved really is. You know what the word saved in Greek is? Most people don't have a clue. It's the Greek word sozo. And you know what it means? Here's what hardly nobody knows. Christians don't know. Preachers don't know. The Greek word saved, sozo, means to be whole or have a whole heart. It means to complete your heart. Why? Because we live from a divided heart. Most Christians and preachers don't even know what the Greek word for salvation is. The Greek word for salvation is soterio, and that word means to be happy, it means to be blessed, it means to be prosperous, and happiness, blessedness, and prosperity come from a whole heart, not from a divided heart. It hadn't got anything to do with praying a certain prayer, and by praying that prayer, I'm with an elite group that gets to go to a particular place. Folks, that's a lie that's only been introduced for 200 years or less. But we bought it. We bought it, hook, line, and sinker. I'm kind of off my track here. Anyway, this is where most of us live, day in, day out. And in this place where we live, day in, day out, we struggle constantly. And the struggles are mostly in our mind. More than in our mind, and then not in our brain, in our mind. Our mind is an energy field that's around us. You can actually call it an auric field. And in your mind, actually your mind has a male and female specific side to it. So if I were to talk about your mind, I would actually have been talking about this energy that's outside you. And that mind, which is the mind of God, that mind constantly flows. It constantly is going on continuously. And that mind fills with thoughts. What it does, it sends energies into your brain, and your brain, as an organ, has these synapses, and these synapses pick up that thought, and they begin to energize it into your physical body. And therefore, they affect your physical body. But the brain is an organ designed to run the machine called the body. You have to think. Your brain ain't thinking. Your mind is thinking. Your brain is just an organ that's a recipient of that. And so whatever you put a lot of thought to, you put a lot of synapse into it, you put a lot of electrical energy into it, it'll do something in your life. It'll affect your life. It'll make you sick. It'll make you old a whole lot sooner than you ought to be old, as we call old. So, I mean, you know, I'm only 49, 59. 59. I'm 59.
Good for you. That makes me 49.
Amen. Hallelujah. So anyway, here's where we are. Okay? This is where I was at a few weeks back. And I'm trying to get this over to this. This is the design. The design is called a blueprint. It's called a pattern. It's like God has a pattern son. S-O-N. I'd like to talk about the pattern son some, because the pattern son is not someone who was born 2,000 years ago. You are the pattern son. Because the word son in Greek, S-O-N, is actually the Greek word weos, and actually weos means a pattern or a stamp or a child or an heir, both male or female. Even though it says son, we only think about a boy figure. And generally, if they take the Greek word weos and put a small s on it, you'll think about somebody's boy, somebody's son. But if they put a capital S on it, then automatically you're by religion are taught to think about only one son, that God's only got one son. Well, that is a lie that you and I have been given and don't know what to do with it. Because God has billions and billions of sons and daughters, because they're the same thing. And you and I are one. We are that. We have the same power. We have the same ability. We have everything available in us, in our heart, the power within us, that any son has ever had. Okay. Gosh, I'd like to just take off on that and go a lot further to show you there's not just one only begotten son. That is not even a halfway decent translation from the Greek word monogenes that's translated only begotten. The word monogenes means that you're born from one source only. Not only one, but one source only. What would that source be? God. Spirit. God. That's the only source that there is to create you in the womb of your mother. And the word monogenes, that's what it means. You're begotten by one source only. So there is no only one begotten son. We are all sons and daughters of this source that begot us. This only source that begot us. I wish that we could get that. And when we get it, hallelujah, when we get it, it starts to set us free and help free us.
Can I add one thing for those that weren't here 2 weeks ago? He's talking about the natural and the spiritual aspects of us. It tells us in Revelation in 2 different places that God calls us, every single person sitting here, kings and priests. And when you think of a king or a priest, that's authority in the natural and authority in the spiritual, and that is how we become one. Amen. And that, if you want to take it from a literal source, that's still what he said. Right. We are kings and priests. Yeah. Those two are supposed to be one. We've been given the authority for it to be one. Period.
Right.
Period.
Priest. King. You're a king, and of course when you're a king of the lower nature of your being, it also includes the upper nature, because the heart is referring to the core of your being, so it refers to all of it. When you're the priest, the spiritual overseer of your upper being, you're also the priest of your lower being, which includes the whole thing. And what happens when we are divided heart? We're still the king. That's why we still command things happening in our life. And we command things that happen in our life for our devastation. And we ought to know that. Are you hurting? Doesn't it not hurt? You know good and well it hurts. Well, who can change that? If you're crying to somebody outside you to come change something that you got the power inside you to do, I'm sorry, you're just crying amiss. But when you realize you got all this ability inside you, it's always been inside you. It's ever inside you. Proverbs makes this so clear. Life and death is in the power of your tongue. It's not in somebody's power out yonder somewhere. Life and death is in the power of your tongue. Jesus said blessing and cursing is in the power of the tongue. The book of James says the tongue, even though it's a little member, it directs the whole course of your life. And so we have this ability. We're not going to get it. You're not even going to pray a special prayer and get it. You already got it. And just by us doing all those religious gymnastics that don't work, we actually defeat ourselves. We tear ourselves down. So we went from there to well, just go with me now to the book of Genesis. If you want to find the index in your Bible and move with me real quickly, I'm going to try to move quick here and see if I can get some of this that I have notes on. Genesis chapter 1 and verse 3. Let's just jump in right here. Genesis chapter 1 and verse 3. And it says, and God. First off, let me just say this about God. God is, that term God, my board is, I want to keep everything on my board, but I need more room. I need to take stuff off of it. God. The circle has no beginning and it has no end, and so the circle is a symbol of this term we call God. Okay? Because the term we call God in religion, we're taught to think it's an old gray-headed man. Or an old bald-headed man like Marvin. But it's not. It's not an old gray-headed or an old bald-headed man. But the circle, which is a symbol of infinity or timelessness. And then when we take a circle and we put a cross in it, then that cross is referring to matter, M-A-T-T-E-R. We call it the cross of matter. And it actually is where the astrological wheel is born. And in the astrological wheel, we have 12 signs or powers in that wheel, which is called the zoology. It's zoology, or we call it zoology. The zoo in the sky, which has got everything in it. It's got animals, humans, all kinds of creatures, different things in that wheel. Well, that is the symbol, that is the wheel for this very word we see here, God, Elohim. In Hebrew, Elohim means the 12 wheel of power, the 12 gods. That's a whole different teaching what we have done in the past. So everybody just latch on to that. This word God is referring to the energy and the power of the astrological wheel. Right now, the sun is, we're probably somewhere a little after 12 noon. So right now, the sun is in that sign or that symbol of Gemini moving toward Cancer. So right now, in that particular 2-hour window that the sun is in that angle, it's sending energy from that angle to the earth. That energy from the sun, S-U-N, at that angle to the earth does things differently than that did this morning at Aries between 6 and 8. Because between 6 and 8, the sun sent energy here at a different angle. Follow that? Yeah. And it does that all the way around the clock, all the way around the wheel. So that's called Elohim. You can't even get a Jew to try to make it an old gray-headed man. It never fit. It don't fit in their brain. It only fits in the brain of us Christians who've been dumbed down, who have been told a lie and call it the truth. So it says right here, and God said. The word said in the Hebrew is the Hebrew word amar. Amar. And I'll go ahead and put it over here. Aleph, Mem, Rash. Amar. Aleph, Mem, Rash. And so that word said. Now think about this with me. You just have to think. Not asking you to believe anything. Don't believe anything I tell you. Okay? But think about it. And if it holds some truth to it, or if you can't debunk it, then maybe you could entertain it. Okay? You don't have to believe it. That word amar, said. If I were to talk about something I said, where would you put that? Past, present, and future, or future? It's always past tense. Think about that. If God said something, that puts God in the past tense. How many of you know God's not in the past tense? God is always present. There's never a chronological time that God isn't. God always is. A better rendering of this Hebrew word amir, translated for said 10 times, is God is saying. Now, if I said God is saying, that puts it in the present tense and on a continual basis. But now, if you think God said something back then, you think He said it then, but He ain't saying it now. And so when we see that, we constantly keep our power, our energy always back there. We always get it in the past tense. But that word amir means is saying. God is saying. This energy is saying. It's like this energy is emanating right now. Did it emanate like this yesterday? Will it emanate like this tomorrow? Absolutely. But I'm not yesterday. I'm not tomorrow. I'm only right now. You hear what I'm saying? Right now. I have to grab a hold of this right now for me. I have to realize God is saying right now. So you mean that energy of vibration is emanating right now to me? And in that, God is speaking? Yes. Yes. What's my problem? My problem is I'm so out of tune, I'm so far off the channel, I can't feel or hear the vibration. I'm not tuned into it. Well, what is tuning in? It's getting your heart in line so that I can hear that, I can get it. In other words, I can hear what is God saying to me right now. Do this, don't do that. Da, 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 da. Well, I don't know. I need to go to this preacher. The preacher can tell me what to do. I can go to this person, they can tell me what to do. I'm sorry, they can't. They never could. We always said they could. All they can do is give you what they think that God's doing or saying to you, or what they wish that God was doing or saying to you. And that's a sad, you know what that does? That again takes your power and gives it to somebody else. Boy, that is good preaching, Brother Lynn. I appreciate you doing that.
They can put the information out there, but you've got to act on it even if it's the right information.
Even if they give you information that is like a sign, a S-I-G-N. All right, come back with me, y'all. I'm going to get to several of these things. God said, that's God is saying. If we make it present tense, God is saying. They make it look, God is saying. Oh, I wish that I like to say that in other tongues or in every tongue or up on the rooftop. God is saying. Get this out of your mind. God said something, all of this happened, the world's all coming to be. God is saying, and worlds are continually coming into being. Why? Because God never stops saying. God is an energy that constantly vibrates, and that energy constantly vibrates with life, and that energy is constantly pouring forth life, and that life is not something that did happen, it is happening. That's what's so powerful about that letter of Einstein, because he makes that, it blows my mind that he realized that love and light were the same energy force, that light comes right, and love comes right out of light. I think that's powerful, really powerful. So he said, God said, and God is saying, let the light be. Didn't that change it? God is saying, let the light be. And I want you to look at the word light. I want you just to see these two words. This is the word for light. Same, rash, olive. Just change this middle term. This is the word for light. This is the term for light. Okay. Is light. And light is saying constantly. Can you hear that? If you can kind of just soak that in, or just let that soak into you. God is light, and light is constant. Now see, again, you can't stop, even the clouds don't stop the energy from the light. Or even the walls of this building don't stop the energy from light, because light is just constantly emanating. It constantly emanates. And that's the word that I like to use, is emanate. It constantly is coming forth. So when we use the word God, we're using the word power, life, L-I-F-E. I always like to use this term, light, L-I-G-H-T, life, and love. I mean, this is what God is. God is light, life, and love. God cannot be anything less than life, or love. In other words, God's not hate, God's not anger, God's not jealous, God's not wrathful, God's not vengeance. All of these terms and all of these ideologies we have received from religion. And if we can help ourselves by opening our mind to think a little differently, then we'll begin to realize God is light, life, and love. If there's no other way to describe that other than this right here. So it says very clearly that God is light. How many of you remember this passage? I want you to turn over there. 1 John 1:5, over and up. Near the back of your Bible. 1 John 1:5, it says, God is light. Let me give you a passage in the book of Numbers. The book of Numbers, I think it's the 21st or 23rd chapter. It says, God is not. Hear this. God is not a man. Wouldn't that have what you've been told all your life, that God's a man? Well, we have. But it says, God, well, we know what God is not, but what is God? God is light. It tells us right here, if you want to real quickly, go to the book of Deuteronomy. You're close right here. Deuteronomy. Fifth book there in your Bible, chapter 4. Deuteronomy, chapter 4. Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 24. Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 24. And what does it say? It says, for God is a what? God is a consuming fire. That's what it says right there. It tells you the same identical thing over in Hebrews chapter 12 in the New Testament. It says God is a consuming fire. Now, if you think about this, and if you will think about this, the book of Revelation, chapter 21, talks about being cast into the lake of fire. The word lake in Greek is lami, and actually the word lami means a safe place or a safe harbor. The idea behind the word lake, safe place or safe harbor, is where you take a ship in a storm and dock the ship in a safe place, in other words, up in a canal or somewhere where the turbulence is not so bad, so that it's safe out of the harm's way of a storm. That's the word lami, which is translated for the word lake. And then the word fire is the Greek word pur, P-U-R. We get our English word pure, P-U-R-E. Think about this. If you're cast into a lake of fire, you're cast into a safe place of fire that's purifying. And we have this analogy given to us in 1 Corinthians chapter 4, where Paul said this. He said, your works will either be wood, hay, and stubble, or they'll be precious stone, silver, precious stone, or gold. What does fire do to wood, hay, and stubble? It burns it up. What does fire do to precious stones, silver, and gold? Purifies it. It makes it pure. So, you know, if you've missed the mark, whatever your whole life, the idea of being cast into fire, a lake of hell, that's religion. That's not Scripture. That's not God. Light, life, and love doesn't do that. Light, life, and love will teach its children how to survive, and not only how to survive, but how to overcome in this life. How to be the powerful being that they are designed and built to be. We are built by God in the womb of our mother without a hammer and without a saw to be the tabernacle, the dwelling place, the living place where God lives. God don't live out there. God lives in here. Amen. God, I mean, the God that's in here is the God of all out there. It's not separate from us. The power is in you. The power to be, the power to do, the power to overcome your situation, your circumstances in life. But you have got to get a hold of that and let that get a hold of you. It's not, you see, what we need to learn more than anything, and you won't learn this going to church, you'll actually continue to learn to disempower yourself going to church and always try to find something outside you to help you. What we will learn here in this school of training and teaching is we will learn that we are all powerful, and that that power is within me to will and to do. I can wield the sword of my power and create my world for bliss are for hell. So if you got a lot of turmoil, if you got a lot of trouble going on in your life, it's not he said, she said, they said. It's you. It's up to you. It's up to yourself. All right, I'm going so many different ways. It's ridiculous now. So go with me to Galatians chapter 4, and I'm going to try to wind this down and see if I can just kind of unhook or tie it together a little bit. Galatians chapter 4, just find that in the New Testament, and we'll move around several places here in Galatians, and we'll close. Don't let me forget to read this I wrote at the end here in just a few minutes, because I want you to see this.
Amen. Don't forget to read what you wrote.
Okay. Okay. Hallelujah. All right. Remember, the Bible is not a history book. I know we've been taught that. I've been saying this for years and years and years. The Bible is not a history book. It is a mystery book about the tabernacle that you are. It's a mystery book about God's house. And everything in the Bible, every character in the Bible is about you. If I'm talking about Abraham, I'm talking about something inside you. If I'm talking about Noah, I'm talking about something inside you. If I'm talking about David, I'm talking about something inside you. Every character, every story, every analogy. As a matter of fact, Jesus said this in Matthew chapter 14. He said all of the stories in the Old Testament are parabole. That's the Greek word, parabole, and got translated parables. Well, what is a parable? A parable is a story, not a historical event. So when Jesus was talking about Jonah and the whale, he called it a parabole. He said it's a story. It's not a natural event. It's not something that really happened to a man back in history. You know, the amazing thing to me has always been, in my 40-plus years of just studying Scripture, is that nothing historical in Scripture can be documented over in the Middle East. It can. You know, when I went to Egypt a few years back, and I saw things in Egypt that go back as far back as 56,000 years, and not only can it be documented, it's carved in stone. I mean, it's there. You can go to Jerusalem, you go right downtown Jerusalem, and right now they have 5, not 1, they have 5 actual tombs that Jesus was crucified and put in. 5 of them. So you're not sure which one of the 5 you go to was really the real one. You know, that ought to make us think. What are they trying to do to us? They're trying to get your money to sell you a story. That's all they're after. They're after your money. They want your money. They want your house. They want your property. They want you. 5 tombs, and every one of them is the real one. This is the real one, y'all. God. Oh, Lord, help us, help us. Goodness gracious. You know, we need to grab a hold of your own shoulders and shake yourself. Hey, you need to wake up here. We need to smell the coffee. It's not as bad as you think. Galatians chapter 1, verse 15. I say this about the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul never ever talks about Jesus. Paul always talks about the Christ. He never talks about Jesus. However, Jesus has been added to the translation in many places. Not that many, but in many places in Paul's epistles, the word Jesus has been added. And that word Jesus is added to refer to humanity as a whole. It's like the stories of Jesus in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John refer to him as your older brother, right? He's my brother. That's what he said. He calls himself, I'm your brother. And he says, I sing in the midst of my brothers and sisters. So and Jesus, the story of Jesus was he always says, I'm the Son of Man. Never will you find not one place where Jesus said, I'm the Son of God. Never. He never said that. He said, I am the Son of Man. Well, who are you? Hello. You're the same thing. You're born of the flesh. Color of skin ain't got no bearing on it, period, whatsoever. You are born of the flesh just like everybody else. You are the Son of Man. You're the son of a woman, a daughter of a woman, the daughter of a man, whatever. So, now, a little clarification for that, and again, I'll say this, and you can do your own research if you like. I don't mind it. I would encourage it, matter of fact. You'll never find one place where Paul mentions one, not even one, miracle Jesus did. Now, if I live contemporary with a person, let's say, right now, let's say I'm 49 or 59, whatever. I grew up right here in North Georgia my whole life. I went to the schools here. And let's say back when I was in my 30s, that there was some preacher healing people down here. Some preacher taking food out of thin air or taking a piece of bread and somebody doing it. Do you realize Dalton Daily Citizen will be there?
Right.
They're going to be down there saying, hey, look here, y'all.
Yeah.
And not only Dalton Daily Citizen, Chattanooga News is going to be down here with the camera. And do you not know that everybody in North Georgia is going to know about this? And yet here we have the Apostle Paul, grew up contemporary with Jesus, went to the same schools with Jesus, sat under the same rabbis with Jesus, and not one time ever mentions him. Not one time. If we didn't have the Pauline epistles, we wouldn't even have the whole idea of this thing we call the church. Jesus never come to build a church. He didn't. He never did. He didn't try to do that. We did that. We did that. But Paul did. So right here, one place, and I want you to see this, a couple of places here. In Galatians chapter 1, verse 15, but when it pleased God, who separated me from my mother's womb and called by His grace to reveal, watch this, verse 16. If you didn't see it, you wouldn't even know it was here in your own Bible. To reveal, do you understand what the word reveal means?
Uncover.
To uncover and to make known. He's going to reveal it, He's going to uncover it, He's going to make it known. He's going to make this known to you. To reveal what?
His Son in me.
His Son where?
In me.
Where?
In me.
Where?
Me.
In me.
Where?
In me.
In me. Not to me. Not outside me. In me. He's going to uncover. God's whole purpose and intent is to uncover His Son. That's the Greek word weos. Do you know what that means? It means pattern. How many of you have had the pattern unveiled to you of who you are? I dare to say not one. Not one. You don't even realize there's a pattern, a plan, a purpose of God's revelation in you, of you. We don't know that. We haven't been shown that. We haven't been told that. But it's just clear right here. I'm not even trying to change the wording of this, because I know this has been translated and retranslated and taken from and added to and put to and da-da-da-da-da. I know that. But just taking simple truths, I can begin to say, where is God's pattern at? It's inside me. And if I can begin to see it, I can begin to understand it. Guess what? I can begin to manifest in my life, life, and love. Why? Because those are the attributes of God. God is not at war. We have a word, war, in the word Greek, polemos. We get our English word politics from it. And when it talks about the angels warring in heaven, or it talks about God at war with this one, it's the word polemos. And you know what that word means? It means the ability to govern. And the ability to govern hadn't got anything to do with being at war with nations, peoples, or skins. Nothing. The ability to govern is you begin to be the king of your castle. You begin to rule and captain the ship of your being. And nobody can do it for you. Nobody can really tell you how to do it. All I can do, I'm just a pointer. I'm just pointing to these things. And you know what? You can look at these things that I'm pointing to and you say, I think he's crazier than hell. You know? And that's fine. That's okay. And I may have gone off the deep end. I'm like the Apostle Paul. You have done too much study. You've been reading too many books, brother. Maybe true. I don't know. But I tell you what, it's liberating. It's freedom. It's life. And it's a blessing. And it's prosperous. And it's all the other things. And it's healthy. You know. So I can't knock on that, right? I don't want to knock on that. The only thing that's causing my hair to fall out. I don't know what that deal is. But I don't know, Bart, you must have bewitched me 10 or 15 years. What am I doing here? What am I?
that hair put a spell in your look.
Okay, go over to Galatians chapter 4, and we'll close and I'll read you this. We'll hold it in my hand so I don't forget. I'm trying to wind down and quit here. Galatians chapter 4, and of course this is like a saga. This is like, y'all remember As the World Turns? That's exactly how this is, just exactly like As the World Turns. You have to come back next week for the next episode. What it is, listen to this, and here's why it's important. It's just like going to class. It's like going to school. If you go to school, you go there to learn. You don't go there to get saved, my God. You know, you go there to learn. What are you learning? You're learning your skill. You're learning how to be. You're learning how to conduct yourself. Well, that's what this is. That's what we're supposed to be about. We're supposed to be about the school of learning. We go over to Egypt, you go over to the temples, the ancient temples over there, and right above the doors of the temple, it will have this phrase, this saying, know yourself. Well, that's the only one you need to know. Because you see, most of us think, well, bless God, it's my duty to fix my wife, because she's not fixed. or the wife said, it's my duty to fix my man. And so what we have these women who is trying to take this man, and bless God, I know through prayer, I'm going to pray for him, I know I can shape him and mold him, I can make him like he wants to be. You wasting your time. Right? You wasting all your time. You might as well forget that, because you ain't going to do a thing to do that. If it's not the way that you like it and you don't think it should be, you're wasting your time. You can only fix yourself. I've been a pastor for over 40 years. Can you imagine that? Here I am, as young as I am. I've been pastoring for over 40 years. And you know, I spent the first 10 years of my pastorate as a young man. I mean, all the energy and the vigor, and I built a big church. I built several big churches. And all I was out to do was to fix everybody, bless God. I'm going to show you how to fix you in Jesus' name. I'm going to fix you in Jesus' name. And I spent all that time, and not one of them ever got fixed. Not one. So I'm a miserable failure. A miserable failure. I couldn't fix one. And you know what God begins? He said, that ain't no job. It ain't no job. Well, I'm too busy, God. I ain't got time for that. I got to go fix your people.
Couldn't fix one, but
it ain't your job. It ain't your job to fix your wife, to fix your husband, to fix your lover, to fix your friend, to fix your kid, to fix this, to fix that. It's your job to fix you. And you ain't going to fix nobody else.
Amen.
And you spin your wheels if you're trying to do that. And I know we do. And I know our intentions are good, because, see, I got 10 grandbabies, I got 3 daughters and sons-in-laws, and I've tried to fix every one of them. And you know what I find the real I threw up my hand? I said, bless God, just let them be what they're going to be.
Amen.
You know what? There's liberty in that.
Amen.
There's freedom in that.
Amen.
Hopefully my hair will grow back now. Galatians chapter 4, look at verse 1. It says, now I say that the heir, say that's me.
That's me.
I'm the heir. You don't know it, but you have inherited. And the only reason you don't know it is because you haven't been to a real attorney who can execute your will. Stephen, what does that mean? It means if you do not, you can have a will and you can become the heir of a great inheritance. But if you don't have someone who can execute that will and say, hey, you know what, you got $1 million here in the bank. Now I'm going to show you how you were able to write a check on it and draw it. Oh, really? You mean I need an attorney? Well, what is an attorney? He's a teacher. Yeah, I promise you, he ain't your pastor. He's a teacher. He's somebody who can show you your authority and your ability. You are an heir. And here's what you are. You are an heir of God. You're an heir of life, and love. And to know how to execute that, and to know how to draw on it, and to know how to implement it, that's what you need to know. That's what this place is about. Teach you line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little, because you're not going to get it. I want to go to the demonology class. We want to cast out devils. Forget that. The only devil you're going to cast out is the one you see every day in the mirror. And you can look it right straight at that booger. And so that's the one you got to work with. Now I say that the heir, as long as he is a child, differs nothing from the servant, although he's still the Lord of everything. But he's under tutors and he's under governors until the time appointed. In other words, he's under the teachers, and he's under those who have authority. He's under those who can execute his will and show him who she is. He's under tutors and he's under governors until the time appointed. Even so we, when we were children, were in bondage under the elements of the world. Everybody say the elements of the world. Elements of the world comes from the word elementals. The elementals actually are the angles of the astrological wheel. They are the 12 angles, and they create in this world all kinds of things. They create life and death. They create blessing and curse. They create bliss and chaos. They constantly create. Why? Because they take the dimensions of this world, or the laws of this world, and use the laws of this world. That's what you're under. You're under the laws of this world. You're not under the law of Moses on the mountain of Sinai, which Paul tells you right here clearly, that is bondage. He tells you very clearly that is bondage. He said that will keep you in bondage. That's where most of us live. Thou shalt not. That I will not. I will not. I will not. And you will. You will. You lie to yourself and to God. You're under the elements of this world. If you're under the elements, do you know what? There are principles in this book that show you how to be above those elements. How you can wield your sword and your power to make those elements work for you. Do you know when it's cold outside? A real thing that helps you, you get sharp and bright, it puts your coat on. That's simple. A lot of people, have you ever heard that they don't have enough sense to get in out of the rain? They ain't got no common sense whatsoever. Well, they were talking about all of us down there in religion. That's what they were talking about. He says, verse 4, but when the fullness of time is come, God sent forth His Son. That's pattern. That's the same one that's the same identical word. Now they capitalized it here. It's the same identical word, weos.
So I was supposed to say God sent forth His pattern?
His pattern, yes. His pattern is just like Paul said there in 1:16-17. His pattern's in you.
Kind of like a seed.
Yes, exactly. It's like a seed. It already has a blueprint. It already has a design. It'll do what it's designed to do if I will allow it to do it. It's just exactly like farming. These farming analogies are all through Scripture. You want to plant corn, you go dig you a hole, put it foot under the ground, it ain't coming up. Really? Why? I mean, I got the seed. I put it in the ground. Yeah. A foot down, folks, wasn't going to work. Well, I laid it on top of the ground. Ain't going to work. Oh, you mean it has to be a certain... Yes, that's what schooling is about. Teach you that you need to put it 3-4 inches. It'll work. It'll do exactly what it's designed. The pattern's inside you. This is what he's referring to. But when the fullness of time is come, God sent forth His Son, made of a woman, made under the law, made under the elements, because the elements are the law that rule this dimension, to redeem them that were under the law, so that we might receive the adoption of sons. You see the word sons, and it's small. It's exactly the same word as son, big, the Lord. It's the same thing. The pattern. The pattern's inside you. So I want you to, I'm going to close right here. Gosh, this is not even a good scratch, but I will close right here. And I want you to do this. I want you to touch your heart with me. Just put your hand on your heart and your chest. And if you would, say this out loud with me. And everybody say it out loud. I don't care if your neighbor hears you or not hear you, but say it where you can hear it yourself. Within my heart, lies all power, and all ability, to hurt, condemn, and destroy. Or to bless, to praise, and to heal. And I'm going to read my notes, because I've got notes on every one of these things that I put here. But I want to talk about to heal. This is the main thing. This is the main thing. The word heal means this. It means to make healthy. It means to correct. Everybody say correct.
Correct.
Heal means to correct. It means to correct or put right. Everybody say put right.
Put right.
In other words, many, if not most, sicknesses and or pains are the results of psychological damage. I remember when I pastored in Indiana. I went to Indiana in '85. I had built a large charismatic church here in Dalton. I felt that God was moving me in a different direction. I resigned that church and put a pastor over it. I was still the founder of that church. And I went to Indiana, had a small group up there. They wanted to move another dimension further, just out from Indianapolis. And I went up there, and within 2 years, we bought a school, and we turned that school into a church. The church up there exploded. It just grew. We bought a school, paid $800,000 for a school, and renovated that school, turned it into a church, or into a facility, a training and teaching facility. And I had a man up there in my facility. He was having some issues with his family, and he was a little bit older than me, because at that time I was probably really 40, maybe, or something like that. I don't know. Either way, somewhere in there. His son was going through all kinds of physical problems, and the whole right side of his face, froze. He did not have a stroke. That's what everybody thought. But he was in his 40s. And he had a son later in his life, so the boy was really young, 10 or 12 best I can remember. The whole right side of his face froze, stuck. And it wouldn't move. It just. And so we all prayed. We shunned Allah. We kicked our Honda, started our Zuki. We did everything. And it was frozen. And he kept going to these different specialists, and the specialist said it was a psychological nerve damage that was done to the side of his face that would heal. But it would take several years, 2, 3, 4 years, or maybe longer, for that nerve to be healed. And that nerve that happened to him was through damage of stress. Now, I'm not talking to none of y'all. I'm telling you a true story of a man that I knew personally. And by the end of I was there from '85 to '90, which I moved back '90 to here, my hometown, and I started this church, this facility. This, to me, has been my passion for most of my life, most of my ministry, to correct and to put right. To put right psychological damage that's done ignorantly by and through living life. What am I talking about? I'm living under laws I don't even know are laws. I'm living under the law of gravity and electricity and don't even know it. But they're laws. And do you know the only reason you can fly in a plane is they realize there's a higher law than the law of gravity, and it's called the law of lift. That's a law. It wasn't given to anybody on Mount Sinai, but I promise you it's a law that governs your life. And you better believe that the law of lift works if you're going to get on an airplane. So, sickness and pains are the results of psychological damage done ignorantly by and through living life. What do you mean, Brother Lynn, by or through living life? Most of us have some psychological damage done. I'm looking at all of you. What to myself. Most of us have psychological damage done by the people around us that love us the most. In other words, my parents. I had really good parents, and I'm sure you did. But my mom and my daddy's idea of correcting was literally beating and punishing me. I mean, I had blood on my legs from whippings that I got, whether it was a leather strap or a hickory. That's the only two we got to use. Never ever did my parents ever hit me with their fist or their hand. Never. They did it with a hickory. Well, I tell you, and sometimes if one of them felt like the other one didn't do a good enough job, you know, if I've been pretty bad in school and I got in school, I come home, I didn't want to go home because I knew good well I'm fixing to get clapped.
That's right.
Yeah, been there and done that. Yeah, that's psychological damage that's done to children. We don't know that. We don't understand that. Did I stop loving my parents? No. I love them dearly. I honor them. I revere them. But they psychologically damaged me, and I turned around and used the same method on my children. And then when I started getting grandkids, you know what? I began to wake up this, and I told my girls, that ain't right. Don't do it that way. Just because I did it don't mean it's right. We'll change the pattern. Psychological damage done by parents, caregivers, partners. God, this is right here, partners. Husbands and wives, lovers, siblings. Where's it done? It's done right here in the heart. When they told you sticks and stones will break my bones and words won't hurt me, that is an outright lie. Words do more damage. What do? They tear the heart up. They divide the heart. You constantly live your life torn apart, and this stress and damage, it does all kinds of physical things to your body. I got to quit. We have got to wake up. The truth is available if we'll just search. Jesus said, seek and knock. If you'll seek, you'll find. If you'll knock, the door will be open. And I'm telling you, the door is not something you have to push in your heart. The door is in your heart, and you're in there, and you push it out. And walk out into your freedom. Walk out into your liberty. Walk out into your power. So we have to begin to think differently, and then we'll be different. Amen. I quit.